Welcome back to the New Blood Championships, and more newbies of the series coming in to show their mettle and prove that they are the ultimate new machine of the series. So let's jump into the battle board and see the lineup. Small names, but doesn't mean less destruction. Mantis hoping to clap out Nuts 2. Flip the Flipper up against the Spinning Blade of Cut It Out. Wheels, a lethal spinner that threw out 259 up against the Flipper of Expulsion. And Beast up against the small bot, Antsy. Mantis. Control bot. One of my favorite insects, actually. They're just so cool. Mantis uses the front claws to hold their prey, and the little wedge at the front lifts them off the ground, allowing them to take them wherever they want. However, there's no Shrimmick on board, and it's very vulnerable to side attacks. Nuts 2. Spinner. What we have here is a small body with two big wheels protected by a ring cage with two long axe flails to keep others at bay. The wheels on the machine are easier to hit than the actual body of the robot, but the major issue the machine has is that it's a bit difficult to control.
Robot ears, stand by.
Mantis, with the mandibles and the lifting wedge, and Nuts 2 with the flail ring device.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Not really sure what that is on Nuts 2, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's effective, it stops machines from getting underneath it, and it's useful for getting an aggression point if it goes to a judge decision. But, I mean, other than that, what's it good for? Nuts 2 spinning around, Mantis definitely coming in. Looking like, what the hell am I supposed to do against this thing? How am I meant to beat it? Well, they're trying to, and I think they might have gotten Nuts 2 beached on the wall. Have they? No. Ooh, I think they've thrown Nuts 2 over. Now that's interesting. It's not like it's gonna do anything. Nuts 2 can run both ways up. And again, ooh, a Mantis nearly down the pit of oblivion. You might want to stay clear of that, Mantis! And nearly once again down the pit. I think that was again from Nuts 2, just like before. But now the spike giving problems for Mantis. Can Mantis come in at Nuts? That's the other advantage to Nuts 2. It's difficult to attack. It's a very awkward design. Flipping it is not going to affect it in any way, shape, or form. It can run both ways up as Mantis tries to shove Nuts 2 down the pit, which is their only real tactic if they want to progress. They did pretty well in the main series, reaching the Heat final where they lost to... No! I was about to say where they lost to Endgame! And here they are, driving themselves in the pit in the first fight! And Nuts 2! I don't think they were really all that worried! To be perfectly honest, Sea's cold! And Nuts 2! Well, they're through to the next round! Look at this! This is where it all went wrong! Oops! Whoops. Quite a big oops too, because it cost them the fight, and Nuts 2. They go through. Next up, it's Blip and Cut It Out. Blip, Flipper. Well, isn't that a happy face? Blip is a four-wheel drive machine with a flipping weapon and two front forks to help get underneath its opponents. The machine is very fast and the armor is quite tough, but the Flipper isn't as effective as the team would like because of where and how they built it. Cut It Out. Spinner! A four-wheel drive box bot with a deadly spinning blade to slice into the opposition. The exposed wheels at the top help the machine drive both ways up, which the side skirts don't really do anything to stop, as the machine is actually easily flippable.
Robot ears, stand by.
Blip, with the interesting flipper, and Cut That Out with the spinning blade.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Who will be, well, Blip able to get underneath Cut It Out? Or is Cut It Out able to get underneath Blip and do some major damage? All of that stuff is from Blip. I think that's one of the front forks as well from Blip. And that spinning blade, I've cut it out now, ripping off a side of Blip. And you know, well, the flipper works. Though it's not really going to impede Cut It Out, who comes back in. And I think Cut It Out definitely have this. Is there any real mobility control? I think another side panel has come off of Blip now. The front gone. And are the two stuck together? No. They're still mobile. There's one wheel left on Blip. How? I mean, can you count this as mobile? I am not really sure. And now they're both in the pit. Cut It Out managing to get away before throwing themselves in. But I think Blip were down there first. Cut It Out could get away. Blip couldn't. As they throw out a tire. I think it's safe to say Blip's going home. Cut It Out, they're going through. And there you have it, confirmation. Blip down the pit and out. Cut It Out, they go through. Next up, Wheels and Expulsion. Wheels. Spinner. 4 big chunky wheels with a spinning blade attached to the front, able to drive both ways up, can even turn itself up and over by wheeling. A pretty tricky machine to knock out, and its quick drive makes it much harder, although those big exposed wheels look very tasty. Expulsion. Flipper. The team may be new to the competition, but they've fought in many live events around the country, which will be a huge advantage. The front hinge flipper is very low and will have no trouble getting underneath and introducing the CO2 powered flipper, but it's CO2 and there isn't a limitless supply.
Robot ears, stand by.
Wheels with the big spinning blade, and Expulsion with the CO2 flipper.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Wheels, definitely someone to be looking out for, though again, Expulsion with a very good flip on. What was that? Jesus Christ, what happened? Expulsion got one flipping, and then I think they just got lost and confused. And threw themselves down the pit. That's the shortest fight ever in the series, I think. What on earth was that? Expulsion just drives into the pit. Wheels gets a free pass. Beast, Antsy, they're next up. Beast. Flipper. Have you people heard of this thing called armor? Because I'm getting the feeling you haven't. Two-wheel driven with a powerful flipper, but the lack of armor makes the electronics seriously endangered of being struck and damaged, and resulting in the beast meeting its end. Antsy. Flipper. It's actually quite a tiny robot. You wouldn't believe it based on its weight. It's got an advantage of being low, so blades aren't really going to be an issue for it, meaning it'll be able to use the flipper to toss them over, but because of its size, it does mean that it's easily flippable.
Robot ears, stand by.
Beast, with the CO2 powered flipper, and little Antsy with their own flipper.
3, 2, 1.
The question in this fight would be who will have the more effective flipper, and apparently it's Antsy as Beast tries to throw themselves back up and over and does a little wheelie. Antsy spinning and coming to a stop. And is there a problem with Antsy? They've been flung up by Beast and about to go flying out the arena. Nope. No, they're not. Beasts instead gonna get stuck on the spikes. Is something wrong with Antsy, I wonder? They're not moving, and Beast because of how powerful the flipper is, they need to be careful not to self-right out. Meanwhile, I think there's a problem with Antsy. There's no movement. And the battery's gone. Well, their hopes have gone. They're in the pit. And now, what's there for Beast to do? Apparently... well, I guess they can just join Antsy in the pit, I guess. Or not, Six is called. Poor Antsy. They did very good at the start, but something went wrong. And it's Beast going through. Such a shame for Antsy. They did good, but sadly they're out. Beast goes through. And this is how the second round looks. Beast later on will be taking on Wheels. But first, it's the flail bot of Nuts 2 against the spinning blade of Cut It Out.
Robot ears, stand by.
Nuts 2, the flailing bot with the 2 chain weapons, and Cut It Out, the invertible machine with the spinning blade.
2,
3, 2,
1.
1.
Activate.
And in all honesty, I feel like Nuts 2 may be slightly outmatched here because Cut It Out can do some pretty serious damage to those wheels if it can get to it. I don't think it really can though. Look at this though. Great smack there, and something's actually come off of Nuts 2. It's one of the weapons. So, is that going to impede Nuts 2? Well, no, because Cut It Out just thrown themselves into the pit. Look at this. Yes, whoops. Well, I don't think that was on their to-do list for Cut It Out. Cut It Out in the pit and out. Cease is called. And, you know, had they gone to a judge's on damage, it could have gone to Cut It Out, but they're out. Nuts 2 through. And that's mainly due to poor driving on their part. To Cut It Out, they're gone. Nuts 2, they're through to the heat final. Next up, Wheels and Beast.
Robot ears, stand by.
Wheels with the big spinning blade, and Beast with the CO2 flipper.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Beast able to get underneath Wheels from the sides. Wheels, though, can run both ways up, but they have a high ground clearance, but they also have a very powerful blade, and it flings Beast away, who now self-right, and off comes a wheel, and into the pit, and that's very quick. Look at this. They self-right. There comes a rear attack from Wheels, and then Beast drives into the pit. And that will happen if you have only one wheel on your wagon. Meanwhile, Beast, I think, trying to get themselves out of the pit. Wheels, however, the winners, spins around into light. Oh! Look at this though, Beast! They flung themselves out, and Wheels rights themselves. But I don't think there's much Wheels can really do. Ooh. Well, Wheels nearly went out the arena there and nearly drove himself out there. And a good slam to the side of Beast. They're going to throw themselves out the arena again. Poor Beast. There's not much Beast can really do. They've only got one wheel. And I think that's barely hanging on as it is. Wheels very much on top. And continuously on the attack, and off comes the flipper plate! The flipper plate's gone! So now, Beast has no real weapon! The flipper's gone, and now, well, the mechanism's still there, the weapon part itself, that's gone, and Wheels, I don't think needs to do anything more stupid! And it's catapulted into the air! Look at this! That's great stuff! They flipped themselves, but they sent Wheels skyward into the air! And that's brilliant! Well, Beast can still use their weapon, but they can't move. The wheel's now gone. The remaining wheel... well, the tire anyway. That's come off. Wheels still throwing themselves around. And Beast nearly catapulting themselves out of the arena, which I feel like without the flipper blade is inevitable like that. Out goes Beast. They're definitely not coming back from that. Wheels now well and truly truly the winners as Beast just rolls onto the other side. That is brilliant. Wheels the winners. What is Wheels doing? Throwing themselves into the pit. Okay, fair enough. That was brilliant. Well done, Wheels. They're through to the Heat final. As Beast flips themselves back onto the side they went out of. Brilliant. But this is the Heat final. The spinning blade of Wheels and the flail bot of Nuts. Two. Very unlikely him to get here. But what will happen in the Heat final? This should be very entertaining to watch. Our two Heat finalists, both with different ways of spinning attacks. Nuts 2 and Wheels. Let's see how they got here. Nuts 2 really struggle, actually, in their fight against Mantis. Mantis more controlling, more dominant. Nuts 2 still trying to be aggressive. Mantis could have won it, but oops, accidentally drove down the pit. Nuts 2 still smashing him in the head. Cut it out. Knocked off one of their blades. Still kept going on the attack. Nuts 2 didn't seem phased at all. And then cut it out. Whoops. Overshot and slid into the pit. Wheels. Only one attack came from Expulsion before they decided to throw themselves out. This was better though. A fight with Beast. Off came the tire, who then drew themselves into the pit. But they came out only to have their face blasted off by Wheels, and then self-rights out of the arena.
Roboteers, stand by.
Nuts 2 with the spinning flails in the ring cage, and Wheels with the spinning drum bar. I don't know what that type of weapon is. It's dangerous, I'll put it that way. And I might just give Nuts 2 a serious run for the money if Wheels doesn't. What have they done? The weapon's gone! It's completely destroyed in the opening seconds! Look at this! Collides with the wall! And there it goes! And now Wheels bucking around like a bucking bronco! They've stopped the weapon though! So now, what does Wheels have? Well, they're up and over. They can't right themselves now. They're trying desperately. Nuts 2 throws themselves up and over. I don't know if Wheels has any way to combat this. Nuts 2 spins around, stops, wondering what Wheels is doing. I think. Or is there a problem with Nuts 2? Has something gone wrong with Nuts 2? I think Nuts 2 are immobilized, and that's quite the surprise, because Wheels, no weapon, and yet somehow they've managed to win this fight into the big upset for Wheels, actually, almost. For the weapon, completely destroyed, but luckily, Nuts 2 are immobilized. They're through. As they throw themselves down the pit, ceases cold. Well, 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 that was a turn-up for the books. Nuts 2 burning out causes their abrupt end as Wheels makes it through, especially after their victory over 259 in the main competition. Looking forward to seeing what Wheels can do in the grand finals, but until then, take care, and I'll see you next time. Farewell.